Welcome folks, welcome back to New Book Tuesday. Today we're going to be discussing all the books that came out August 24th. Hi folks, my name is She-fra. I go by Wicklow for this channel, and we're going to be discussing all the books that came out today. We usually start with middle grade, but like last week, I was not able to find any middle grade books that got released today. I know I've missed a few. I just couldn't find them. And after about 20 or so minutes, I gave up. So today we're going to actually be starting with our teen genre with all of the new releases that got released for today. So the first one we're going to kick off with is actually Bad Witch Burning. So this book is considered fantasy, horror, and supernatural. It's also got witch vibes. Well, not witch vibes. It's got witches in it. So witches and witch vibes. Perfect. The cover just looks cool to me, and I've been told it doesn't have any romance. It's just for supernatural and like character growth. So I instantly wanted to add it to my TBR, and I have, because sometimes romance in stories is great, and other times I'm like, you know what? I just want character development and the plot. That is it. Speaking of plot, let's talk about the summary. So, Catrill doesn't mind talking to the dead. She wishes it made more money though. Clients pay her to talk to their deceased loved ones, but it isn't enough to support her unemployed mother and her mom's deadbeat boyfriend of the week. Things get worse when a ghost warns her to stop summoning or she'll burn everything down. Catrill is willing to call them on their bluff, though she has no choice. What do ghosts know about eating peanut butter for dinner? However, when her next summoning accidentally raises someone from the dead, Catrill realizes that a live body is worth a lot more than a dead apparition. And warning or not, she has no intention of letting this lucrative new business plan go. But magic doesn't come for free, and soon dark forces are closing in on her. The further she goes, the more she risks the lives of not only herself, but those she loves. Catrill faces a choice: resign herself to poverty or confront the darkness before it's too late. Do you see why I added this to my TBR? Like the cover and the mention of that it's just like plot driven and character driven. That alone got me to put it on my TBR. And then this synopsis. The next book we're going to be talking about is Both Sides Now, which is an LGBTQ plus contemporary romance, and it has a lot of like political conversations that really shouldn't be conversations, because human rights are human rights, but some people don't understand that. But I actually got to read this because an ARC was sent to my store, and I grabbed that the moment I saw it. So I've actually read it. So you'll see maybe in a future video my review for it. It's a good book. So the synopsis goes: there's only one thing that stands between Fletch Kelly and a full-blown case of high school senioritis: the National Speech and Debate Tournament. Taking home the gold would not only be the pinnacle of Finch's debating career, but the perfect way to launch himself into his next chapter: college in Washington, D.C., and a history-making career as the first trans congressman. What would possibly go wrong? Well, for starters, Finch could develop a teeny tiny crush on his very attractive, very taken, and very gay debate partner, Jonah. Never mind that Finch has never considered whether he's interested in more than just girls. And that dream of college in D.C.? Finch hasn't exactly been accepted anywhere yet, let alone received a full-ride scholarship that he'll need to make his dreams a reality. Worst of all, though, is this year's topic of nationals: transgender rights. If he wants to cinch the gold and get into college, Finch might have to argue against his own humanity. People say there are two sides to every argument, but as Finch is about to discover, some things, like who you are and who you love, are not up for debate. This book had so many powerful points, and literally, I cannot talk about it. This is not a review. It was just a good book, and I'm so happy I got to read it. We're going to end with that. Our third book in our teen selection is Eyes of the Forest. This book is considered a horror mystery thriller with a little bit of fantasy. I didn't know if I considered it just a mystery or had a bit of a thriller element, because I've seen things because of the synopsis. But yeah, mystery thriller. I will consider that. So this is about Bridget. Bridget is Hendon's biggest fan. His epic fantasy series Swords and Shadows created a lifeline between Bridget and her mom as she lost her battle with cancer. When Bridget met Helton at his only book signing, she impressed the author with her encyclopedia knowledge of the fantasy world he created. Bridget has been working for him ever since as he attempts to write his final book. Now Helton is missing, and Bridget is the only person who seems concerned. Can Bridget piece together Helton's clues and save him before it's too late? This sounds like really good. Like, I'm really interested in all that stuff because, honestly, if I could help an author or be in their street team or work for them, like if it's someone who I really loved, I like internal screaming. I would love that. So I'm gonna slightly live out my fantasy and ignore all of the mystery parts. Well, actually, no, not ignore. I'm gonna separate them and enjoy the book because this has been added to my TBR. The next book we'll be mentioning is Beyond the Map Stars. This is a historical fiction, religious question and a faith book. It's about a 17-year-old girl named Elizabeth. She dreams of becoming an astronomer, but she knows such dreams are unreachable as the stars she so deeply adores. As a Mormon girl, her duty is to her family and in a not too far away future to a man who will choose to marry her. When she unexpectedly finds herself in Colorado, she's tempted by the total eclipse of the sun that's about to happen, and maybe even meeting up with a female scientist she long admired. Elizabeth must learn to navigate the new world of possibilities, with her familial duties and faith tugging at her heartstrings, a new romance on the horizon, and the study of the night sky calling to her. She can't possibly have it all, can she? I have a weird thing about religious question and faith books because I always go into them a little bit cynical because I don't have a good thing with religion myself. Being raised Roman Catholic kind of affected that, so I'm not going to say I'm not going to read it, but if it comes, but only if it comes kind of across, if it falls into my lap, like if one of my friends reads it and recommends it to me, or I see it in my store and I'm just like, hey, I'm in between books, I'll read it. So I'm not going to add this to my TBR, but I also could. We'll see what the stars have in mind for me. The next book we're going to be mentioning is Vampire Hearts and Other Dead Things. So this is a fantasy, supernatural romance book and has vampires in it. So I have to be strong. I am such a sucker for vampires. So I'm just like, read the synopsis first, She-fra, then see if you want to add it to your TBR. Well, in a heart-wrenching debut novel, The Coldest Girl in Cold Town meets They Both Die at the End, our teen girl takes a trip to New Orleans with her estranged best friend to find a vampire to save her dying father. Oh, this pulls on the heartstrings. Victoria and her dad have shared a love of the undead since the first vampire revealed his existence on live TV. Public fear soon drove the vampires back into hiding, yet Victoria and her father still dream about finding a vampire together. But when her dad is diagnosed with terminal cancer, it's clear that that's not going to happen. Instead, Victoria vows to find a vampire herself so that she can become one and then save her father. Armed with research and speculations, desperation, and helped by her strange best friend Henry, Victoria travels to New Orleans in search of a miracle. There she meets Nicholas, a mysterious young man who might give her what she desires, but first he needs Victoria to prove she loves life enough to live forever. She agrees to complete a series of challenges from scarfing sugar-drenched food to singing with a jazz band, all to show her father that she loves him and that she doesn't want him to die. Victoria must figure out how to experience joy and grief at once, trusting all the while that Nicholas will hold up his end of the bargain because the alternative is too impossible to imagine. This is being added to my TBR. I love it when people reimagine like mythology and like a different story around vampires, because that's why I also loved Holly Black's The Coldest Girl in Cold Town, because that was like the vampires came out in the open, the like government segregated like different like cities, off for vampires so they could coexist but keep everybody safe. And this just shows like, hey, like they came out into the world, they were forced back into hiding because they weren't ready. But now that certain people like this know where they are, they might be like miracle workers for like Victoria and her father, who just literally, she wants her dad to stay alive. So it's kind of like it's a little bit of a sweet vampire story. And yes, there is a difference because a lot of vampire stories are not sweet. So yeah, I definitely want to read this book. Now we have The Devil and the Device, which is a second book. It's the second book in the Goddess and the Machine series, which I have not read, but depending on how much spoilers intrigue me, because clearly I'm going to be spoiled here, I might end up reading it. I might end up add it to my TBR. We never know. So let's see. The thrilling, much anticipated conclusion. Oh, so it's a duology. Good to know. Okay. Zod's power might be going to his head. He is still getting used to wearing Merritt's face, but he can't deny that the influence it affords him has its perks. But when the magic starts to turn deadly, Zaid must master the crown if he's going to save his people. Tarina's destructive plans aren't going to make that easy. Worse, he's starting to see her point. Meanwhile, Arya is in hiding. Assumed dead by the people, she must stay underground if she's going to live long enough to build the rocket, which will finally save the colonists from this dying planet. But when Arya hears voices urging her to destroy everything, she starts to dig deeper into her subconscious. What she finds leads her to question whether she's destined to be a savior after all. Okay, battling dangerous forces buried within their minds, can Arya and Zaid truly decide their own fates? Might still need to read the first synopsis, though this does very much intrigue me. So I'll have to loop back to see if I want to add that to my TBR or not. Last on our teen list, we actually have Your Life Has Been Delayed. And this is a contemporary sci-fi fantasy romance series. Well, not series, book. So it's got a time travel aspect to it because Jenny Waters boarded her flights in 1995, but when she landed, she and the other passengers are told they disappeared 25 years ago. Everyone thought they were dead. Now, contending with her family and friends, fast forwarding decades, Jenny must quickly adjust to smartphones and social media while being the biggest story to hit the internet. She feels betrayed by her once best friend and fights her attraction to a cute boy with an uncomfortable connection to her past. Meanwhile, there's a growing group of conspiracy theorists determined to prove the whole situation is a hoax. Will Jenny figure out how to move forward, or will she always be stuck in the past? This makes me think of that show. I think it's called Manifest, and literally they went on a plane ride, and it's like fast forward like 5 years or something, and like a family is like torn apart because like the mom, I think another child, didn't go on the plane, but the father, a daughter, and their youngest did. And so like the time difference of like the mom and the kid moved on, and like, but like they show up and they're just like, you were my wife, you were my mom, like 5 minutes ago. So this is interesting. And if it's dealt well, I would definitely want to read this because the culture shock of how things are different now from the 90s to now is you'd get like full on like you just be so confused because like the norms and the standards, and like you'd be like, oh, the positivity, but oh my god, the toxicity that we literally grew. So I definitely will be adding this to my TBR. Yeah, I'm interested to know how this is handled. So we're moving on to our fiction, sci-fi, romance, and fantasy section. And we're going to kick it off with our romance genre. So the first book is going to be I'm Only Wicked with You, which is a historical romance. I also love that dress. I love green. That dress is pretty. And also, it gives me such... I haven't even read the Bridgerton series, but like, it gives me that vibe. Just the cover. So, The synopsis reads, he's the battle-hardened son of a bastard raised in the wilds of New York. She's the sheltered, blue-blooded darling of the London broadsheets, destined to marry a duke. Their worlds could only collide in a boarding house by the London docks, and when they do, sparks would ignite all of England. Nothing can stop Hugh Cassidy's strive to build an American empire, unless it's his new nemesis, the arrogant, beautiful, too clever by half Lady Lillian. The fascination is mutual, the temptation is merciless, and the inevitable indiscretion, soul-searing, and the ruination of them both. Hugh's proposal salvages Lillian's, I can't say, salvages her honor, like I said her name and now I can't, but kills their dreams for their futures, until they arrive at a plan that could honorably set them free. But unraveling their entanglement inevitably uncovers enthralling truths about Lilia's wounded, tender heart and fierce spirit, and Hugh's stunning gentleness, depth, and courage. Okay, I have nothing against romance because I'm literally so into it right now. I've just started romance and I'm like, yes, I love this. But this description, it makes me slightly cringe and also makes me giddy. I'm adding it to the TBR, obviously, but it just makes me laugh because I'm just like, past She-fra would have been like, so it's awful, and I'm just like, now I'm just like, this still sounds weird, but also I fucking love it. Give it to me. So, yeah, I'm gonna read it. Hope the spicy scenes are. The next and the last book in the romance category is The Highland Fling, which is nice because I'm pretending that this is like a Scottish kind of pattern. It's fine. It's fine. So this one is contemporary romance, and it's set in Scotland, obviously. So, freshly fired from her third job in a row, Bonnie has lost her way. So when she and her best friend stumble upon a help wanted post to run a coffee shop in Scottish Highlands, they apply on a whim. Who knows, maybe traveling to a new place is just what she needs to figure out her life. When the friends arrive in the tiny idle town of Corshkelly, they instantly fall for the gorgeous Highland landscape and friendly townspeople. But Bonnie finds a less than warm welcome in Rowan, the rugged... Why is it always Rowan? I've literally seen so many names Rowan lately. But anyway, the rugged local handyman. Busy wrestling his own demons, Rowan is no man to deal with a quirky American, even if she is a bonny lass. God, now I want to just look at like Irish romance and be like, in the description, do they do one of those cliche fucking stupid Irish sayings? And you're just like, nobody says that in Ireland anymore. Calm down. Anyway, as Bonnie and Rowan's paths inevitably cross, insults and sparks fly. Can the pair build on their similarities to help each other find purpose and direction, and maybe romance too? Or will their passionate tempers fling them apart? I'm gonna read it. Fuck. Add it to my TBR. I want to read it. Because I also need to highlight how many times Bonnie is said. And be like, I don't think this is legit though. Now we have one book in the fiction category. So it's called The Madness of Crowds. And it's by Louise Penny, who's a famous Canadian author. And even though I live in Canada, I have not read a single book of hers. I'm so sorry, Canada. It's a mystery crime thriller book. And it's number 17 in her Chief Inspector series. So this is hella spoilers for me, for you, for anyone who's not at least on finished 16. The 16th book. So, you're a coward. Time and again, as the new year approaches, the charge is leveled against Armin. It starts innocently enough. While the residents of Quebec village of Three Pine take advantage of the deep snow to ski it, to drink hot chocolate in the and the bistro and share a meal together, the chief inspector finds his holiday with his family interrupted by a simple request. He's asked to provide security for what's promised to be a non-event. A visiting professor of statistics will be giving a lecture at a nearby university, and while he is perplexed as to why the head of homicide for the Quebec, I don't know this. I can't do French. I think it's the police squad, but in French, no. Homicide for the police of Quebec would be assigned this task. It sounds easy enough. That is until he starts looking into the professor and discovers an agenda so repulsive he begs a university to cancel the lecture. They refuse, citing academic freedom, and accuse him of censorship and intellectual cowardice. Before long, Professor Robinson's views start seeping into conversations, spreading and infecting, so that truth and fact, reality and delusion are so confused it's near impossible to tell them apart. I have nothing against this book, but obviously it's not going to be added to my TBR because I have no idea what's it about. I've never read any of the book series. So, one day, I will. We're going to kick it off now with our fantasy book. So, the fantasy book we're going to be talking about today is The Parish. It's the first book that's going to be in the Covenant of Steel series, and it is a high fantasy book series. So, born into a troubled kingdom, Alwyn is raised as an outlaw. Quick of wit, Delph with a blade. Alwyn is content with the freedom of the woods and the comrades of his fellow thieves, but an act of betrayal sets him on a new path, one of blood and vengeance, which eventually leads him to a soldier's life in the king's army. Fighting under the command of Lady Avadine, a noble woman beset by visions of demonic apocalypse, Alwyn must survive war and the deadly intrigues of the nobility if he hopes to claim his vengeance. But as dark forces, both human and arcane, gather to oppose Evadine's rise, Alwyn faces a choice. Can he be a warrior, or will he always be an outlaw? I don't know how I feel about this one. I feel like I wasn't given enough. I feel like I need more. Oh my god, this is 600 pages. Yeah, for 600 pages, I need more than that synopsis to get me intrigued. But it does sound interesting. Okay. The next book is from our Sci-Fi section. And it's the only book there, and it's actually the last book we're going to be talking about today. So, the book is 25 to Life. It is just a sci-fi space travel book. Yeah, I would consider that. So, Julie Riley is 2 years too young to get out from under her mother's thumb. And what does it matter? She's overeducated, underemployed, and kept mostly numb by her pharmaceutical implant. Her best friend, who she's mostly been interacting with via virtual reality for the past decade, is part of the colony mission to the New World. Plus, the world is coming to an end, so there's that. When Julie's mother decides it's time to let go of the family home in a failing suburb and move to the city to get closer to her work and her new boo, Julie decides to take matters into her own hands. She runs, illegally, hoping to find and hide with the Volkist. A loose-knit culture of tramps, hobos, senior citizens, artists, and never-do-wells who have elected to ride out the end of the world in their campers and converted vans, constantly in the move over the back roads of America. Oh. So it's not so you're going to be on Earth reading this. You're going to be reading this from the perspective of someone on Earth, not one of the people who are going. Okay, interesting. It's an interesting concept. I will give it that, because like finally being free after being controlled by someone, and then the world's ending anyway, so like what better time is it to say fuck you and leave than then? Because if you got a limited time, why not just go enjoy yourself? Yeah, interesting. Not being added to the TBR, but very interesting concept that I think others might enjoy. So folks, that has been their video for today. I hope you enjoyed New Book Tuesday. Hope you found some books you might be intrigued to read. And if you've got any recommendations, any comments, let me know. comment below, maybe give a like, maybe don't. We shall see. This has been Wicklow. I hope you have a good day. Enjoy, folks.